Welcome to the Growing in Love for Life podcast, where it's all about saving and strengthening your marriage and creating the relationship you really deserve and want to have. And now, from growinginloveforlife.com, relationship and marriage coach and best-selling author, your host, Naden.
This is episode 35 of the Growing in Love for Life podcast. Welcome everyone, it's Liam Naden here again. And in fact, not only welcome to the latest episode of the Growing in Love for Life podcast, but it's a bit of a welcome in actual fact to what's probably the last episode of the Growing in Love for Life podcast. And I'll tell you why shortly, but today I really just want to wrap up what's been an amazing podcast series. I've found it amazing to present all this information to you. And I just want to tell you why that after 34 episodes, I've decided to put this podcast on hold, at least for now. As I just said, we've had 34 episodes, and my whole purpose originally with presenting this podcast was really, along with all the other things I do, was I really wanted to help people who are struggling with their marriage or relationship by providing them with some new ideas, some new strategies, some tools on how not only to get a marriage back on track again, and that's no matter how bad things might be, but how to really create a truly amazing marriage. And you know, if you know anything about me, you'll know that what really got me started with this and what I still am, is on a real quest to discover what really makes a marriage great. And not only that, but what do you do to get things back on track when they're falling apart? And I've spent a long time finding the answers to this, and one of the ways I've done that has been to really observe closely the couples who have great relationships, and to find out what that small percentage, unfortunately, of couples, what that small percentage are doing differently to nearly everyone else out there. And unfortunately, I've also had the opportunity to observe many people who are in very unhappy marriages, and I've seen what they've been doing as well, and I've been able to compare about what these two groups of people are doing and what they're doing differently. And I've put all of this information into a system, and once you understand and apply this information in this system, it really has the potential to, I believe, turn any marriage, no matter what their current circumstances, and as long as the will is there from at least one person in the marriage, but to turn any marriage into a truly fulfilling marriage that's going to bring real happiness, real fulfillment to both people in it. You know, I firmly believe, and I've said this many times before as well, but I firmly believe that nothing has a greater impact on the quality of your life and your overall happiness than the state of your marriage. And you can have success in absolutely every other area of your life, your health, your finances, your career, but if you don't have a successful marriage, then you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be fulfilled. You're never really going to get your life to the point where it's really where you want it to be. Alright, but as I've moved along this process, particularly with this podcast, I've really become aware quite recently that I think there comes a point when you, if you're struggling with your marriage, you can have too much information. And I mean, I firmly believe that saving a marriage and creating a really successful one depends on just a few core principles. You know, problems in a relationship, and I've said this many times before as well, but problems in a relationship are simply symptoms that the foundations of the relationship haven't been put in place properly, or they've become somehow misaligned over time. So if you want to get your marriage functioning well, what you really need to do is work on the foundations, and when you do that, the so-called problems, the things that you see on the surface level, they're going to be much easier to deal with. And in fact, in many cases, those problems just simply seem to go away on their own. And I've used before the analogy of a crack in the wall of your house. So just to repeat this if you haven't heard it, but just imagine you wake up one morning and you go down the stairs into your living room and there's a big crack on the wall of your house. Now you don't know what's caused it, but you have two real choices to fix it. The first thing is you could go down to the hardware store And you could say, look, I've got a crack in my house and it needs repairing. They're going to say, okay, well, here's some filler, some plaster, and here's some paint, so you can paint over it once you've filled it in and filled in the crack, and here's some sandpaper to make it all smooth, and then you won't know you've had a crack at all. And you say, that's great. So you do all that, you go home, you fix the crack, you paint over it, and the next day you come down the stairs and there's another crack on the wall that's even bigger. So of course, really what this is pointing to is that just filling in the crack on your wall is not going to stop them reappearing. You've got to get under the bottom of the house and find out what's moving around, what foundation problems have you got that are causing the cracks to appear. Because if you just keep filling in the cracks on the walls, they're just going to keep appearing. But if you get down underneath the house and you fix the foundations, not only are the cracks that you've got are going to stay once you've repaired them, but you won't have any new ones appear. And that's so true when it comes to relationships. It's not about papering over the cracks. It's not about trying to solve the problems. It's about dealing with the core foundations. And once you fix those, once you understand what's holding your relationship up and what needs to be there, once you understand that and you put those in place, the problems are so much less, and in fact, as I said, many of them just disappear. So that's what I've tried to give you in these podcast episodes, and obviously it's something I do in all my other work as well. It's something I cover in much greater depth in my marriage programs. But what I've tried to do in these podcasts is give you an idea about the foundations of a relationship and of your relationship. And what I've tried to do is use a fresh approach that's going to help you to deal with repairing those foundations. And not only get rid of the problems, but build a much stronger structure, which is inevitable that you're going to. Once you repair the foundations, you're going to have a very strong foundation that's going to allow you to not only have a great relationship now, but also to withstand any storms or earthquakes, if you like, that are going to come your way in the future. And that's the key. And that's why there are couples out there who've been together for decades who have a stronger, more passionate, more exciting, more intimate relationship than they did when they first got together. They've, if you like, cracked the code, usually unconsciously, of what needs to be in the foundations of a relationship. They've figured it out, and they've discovered the unbelievable joy that really nothing else can compare in terms of what joy a relationship can give you in your life. Alright, but I think the time has really come to say that you really have as much information as you're going to need to at least make a start in saving your marriage and rebuilding true intimacy and fulfillment. And as I said, my programs go into a lot more detail. They show you a much quicker and easier way to get there. But these 34 podcasts contain an enormous amount of information that can help you if you apply it. And when I first started out, I didn't want this podcast to be one of those sort of chat shows that really are a bit light on content and maybe might make you feel a little bit better in your situation in the short term, but didn't really help you make changes for the better. I really wanted every episode of this podcast to be packed with real practical advice that you can use to get positive results immediately. And I really have aimed to do that, and I hope that I have succeeded. That's been my intention. But I also feel there's a danger that these podcasts could have become a bit repetitive, and that's not a good thing. It's really no point. So that's really the reason I've decided to put these podcasts on hold for now. I certainly in the future may add episodes, and they might be in the form of interviews with other experts, and you'll know that I've already had guests in the past on this program, and I think their insight and input has been invaluable. And I'm sure you will agree with that. Alright, so I've left you here with a huge body of information that I think can help you save and strengthen your marriage, and I really encourage you to listen to all of them or any of the episodes that might apply specifically to your situation, because I've certainly covered a lot of different topics. It really is quite a big resource you have here. And my wish for you as we wrap up this podcast series is that you really do get to experience the true joy of an amazing relationship. And, I still really believe this is just a question of understanding the right things to do and start doing them, and stop doing the wrong things as well, of course. And doing the right things and not doing the wrong things purely comes from understanding and application. It's tragic, but I see people every week who are suffering in their marriage, and it's all because they simply have never found out the right things to do. So, if things are still not going right for you after listening to this podcast, then I'd really urge you to consider doing one of my programs. And these are really my most powerful products. This is where I really show you exactly what to do and what not to do in a real step-by-step, clear, almost laser-like fashion to get the foundations of your marriage right again. And there have been some great successes come out of these programs. They've helped many couples, and they really can help you get your marriage sorted once and for all. And life's too short for a lot of things, but one of them, life is definitely too short for a lousy marriage. And the tragedy is that most people end up just simply getting a divorce when their problems become too great. But they never really realise that there was another way to approach their marriage problems entirely, which would have meant divorce just didn't need to happen. So my two programs, of course, one is called Stop Your Divorce, How to Save Your Marriage When Your Spouse Doesn't Want to. And that's really when you're in the situation where your partner wants to leave. They've given up on your marriage. They no longer want to be involved with you. And this is a way to re-engage them, to get them back to get them feeling good about you again and about your marriage again. And that's a 7-day program. And then there's my more in-depth one, which is my 30-day program, which is the Save Your Marriage Relationship Transformation Program, and that's the one that really works at a deep level on the real foundations in your marriage. And with that program, you also get the 7-day program as well. So all the information about those is of course on my website, liamnaden.com. I would love to help you too. I would love to see your marriage, rather than becoming just another casualty, I'd love your marriage to become one of those rare few where you're so happy together that not only are you having a great time, but that other people are noticing as well. So whatever you do, don't give up on your marriage. Please listen to this podcast series, join me on one of my programs, and let your marriage, rather than being a failure, like most of them are, let's face it, the ones that don't end in divorce, there's still not a lot of people with happy marriages out there. But rather than you being one of those, like the masses, why not turn your marriage into an inspiration? Not just for yourself. Why not have a marriage where you not only inspire yourself with the greatness, with the joy, the fulfillment, and the real connection you have with another person. You not only inspire yourself, but wouldn't it be great to inspire those people around you as well? When you look at it like that, you not only owe it to yourself, and of course to your husband or your wife, but you owe it to the rest of the world too, to really show people what a marriage truly can be, with just the right foundations in place, but just knowing the right information, by not giving up, by doing some of the right things, by stopping doing the wrong things, and realizing that any marriage in that situation really can be a great one. And you might be just surprised when you do that, just how many people you positively impact as a result. So that's my challenge to you. My hope for you is that you become an inspiration by creating a great marriage as well, and I would love to help you to do that. So thanks as always for listening to the podcast. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure to present these to you, to bring the information to you. I've been really humbled as well as thrilled with the feedback I've had. Thank you so much to the people who've given me such great feedback and who've told me how much it's helped them in their marriage. So thank you for being a member really of the Growing in Love for Life podcast family. I really look forward to hearing from you, maybe working with you in the future, and all the very best to you and your marriage. Bye for now.